Good morning again. So I'm going to tell a true story. So one day a cop stopped the car. One day a cop, it happened in 1990 or 91, somewhere around that. He stopped the car. And the car was pulled over and the cop was behind as usual, trying to see. And the place he pulled the car over, next to that road was a cemetery, close by the cemetery. And he pulled the car over. Perhaps how many were pulled by the cop? Can you raise your hands? How many? I think there are many. I was 2 times stopped by the cop. One, the year I came into America, and another, I think 2017 or 18, I was driving towards Minneapolis airport to give ride to my friend. Then I was stopped. And both times I was not given ticket. I was given only warning. So that's a good thing. I think many of you got only warning, not the ticket. Anyhow, this man was pulled over and the cop behind him stopped. After checking him, he went there. And as he went, he saw that person was little familiar to him. Little familiar. He has seen that face. So now he was curious to know who that man was. The cop was curious to know who is that. And he saw he was dressed like priest, like long robe and everything. And he looked at his finger. There was what do we say? On his finger, there's a big ring on his finger. There was a big ring. Then immediately he realized he was supposed to be the bishop. And he thought, oh my God, he's a bishop. So immediately the cops thought he's a bishop and said, Father, do you know why I stopped? And now the bishop realized he's supposed to be a Catholic. That's what he called me Father, So immediately the bishop said, son, I know why you stopped me. Maybe I am driving too fast. And the cop said, yes, you were driving too fast, Father, and you are not supposed to drive like that. Do you understand? And he said, yes. And the cop would like to tell him politely he was driving too fast. And the cop said to him, this is the words he used, the faster you drive, the sooner you will be in the cemetery. So the cemetery is next to the road. The faster you drive, the sooner you will be in the cemetery. The slower you drive, the longer you live. He said that politely, and he gave the warning to him, not the ticket. He gave the warning to the bishop, and the cop continued his work. And the cop was a good friend of mine. I just talked to him, he was telling that story to me. So this week only he told the story. So now we see that bishop, though he was a bishop, he did not he was not offended. He knows that he did something wrong. And that's what humility means. When we do something wrong, we are called to accept and obey it. And that's what called self-denial by Jesus Christ. Many a time when we people feel that we are in high position, or when we are really rich, when we hold the power, we feel that we no need to worry about anything. Everything is under our control. And I'm not worried about anything. It's not life like that. The more you grow, the more you have to humble yourself. The more you have the power, the more self-denial has to be in your life, in my life. And that's what Jesus is telling disciples. If you are my disciple, if you are really following me, then you have greater responsibility. In that greater responsibility, what comes first? Self-denial. Deny yourself. Take up the cross and follow me. So, if you are the real disciple of Jesus Christ and you hold a higher authority as a disciple of Jesus Christ, the more you grow higher, the more humbler you have to become. And that's what we see in the life of the prophet Jeremiah in the first reading. That's a beautiful first reading. And prophet Jeremiah was called. We need to know little about prophet Jeremiah. Most of the prophets, when they were called, they were very much elderly. They were married, they may have children, which was not many a time focused on in the Bible, but most of the prophets were elderly. But the scholars say Prophet Jeremiah was very young when he was called. Maybe what age? In his 20s. Very, very young when he was called, in his 20s. And another command, God asked him not to marry. No, he was not married like priests we are. He was not married. Second. And prophets were given so many jobs from God. Some prophets are prophets of hope, bringing good news to them. Happy news, good fortune. Prophet of hope, prophet of fortune, prophet of faith, and a prophet of justice. Those prophets are good. When they bring you will go to Jerusalem. You will rebuild the Jerusalem temple. It's a good news for the people of Israel. But Jeremiah was not given that job. It's a very hard job. Jeremiah was given. He has to go against his own king, his own people, his own family. He has to prophesy against his own community. And what he has to prophesy, during his time, people were well off. They had a beautiful life, happy life. They were flourishing. They had everything. But when they had very comfortable life, together with comes always sins. And what kind of sin they did against the God of Yahweh? They were worshipping idol gods. They were taking idols, which was abomination to the God of Yahweh. I am God. I brought my people back from slavery. I gave them everything. Now they are prospering, enjoying their life. How could my people worship idol? So now God calls Jeremiah. Go to my people. Announce to them what they are doing is wrong. And he went and announced. But what he got back is pain. What he got back is suffering. They throw stone at him. They put him in prison. They put him, lot of pain and suffering was there. And there is lot of lamentation in the book of prophet Jeremiah. And therefore, he was called the prophet of, how did they call? Prophet of weeping. The weeping prophet is prophet Jeremiah. That's what in the first reading that we see very beautifully, even prophet Jeremiah himself says, I became the object of laughter. How many would like to become the object of laughter? You would like to become an object of laughter? Nobody. Nobody would like to become an object of laughter. And even in the first, in the reading he says, everybody mocks at me. And how many would like to be mocked? Nobody would like to be mocked. Prophet says, they mocked at me. And to the extent he says, I brought the word of God to the people, but the word of God brought me derision and reproach. I took the word of God to the people, but it brought back to me reproach. They cursed me, and they do away with me. They put me in prison. And prophet says, all I did, taking the word of God to the people, but I receive reproach. I receive mockery. I become the object of laughter. Therefore, he is lamenting against God. And that's what he says in the first reading today. God, you duped me and I was duped. And what's that meaning? God, you cheated me. I thought I'm going to be a prophet of hope. I thought I am going to bring good news to my people. But when I take your word to my people, no, you cheated me, God. That's what he says. You cheated me. Because now everybody mocks at me. I become an object of laughter. And that's what Jesus again says in the gospel today. If you want to be my disciples, deny yourself. You cannot seek self-glory and be my disciple. You cannot seek your own interest and be a good Catholic following Jesus Christ. It doesn't work in that way. If you are following Jesus Christ, you have to first deny yourself. Deny your interest. Deny your selfishness. Deny what brings you happiness and joy. Deny that. Take it away from you. If you are my disciple, you have to take up the cross. What cross? You have to point out the mistake of the people, as Jesus did. No, woe to you Pharisees and Sadducees. No, you are whitewashed tombs. No, Jesus often says in the gospel, woe to you. You would like to be respected in the society, but you don't follow the word of God. On the long rope, you write all the word of God, but you don't follow it in your personal life. Jesus says, woe to you Pharisees. We cannot act like Pharisees if we are truly the disciple of Jesus Christ. What Jeremiah faced in his life, the suffering and injustice from his own people, taking the word of God to them, the same thing today, even if you take the word of God, or what our Catholic Church is teaching us about pro-life, about gender identity, about natural family planning, or bringing equality among the people. If you are rich, share with the poor. Help those who do not have. And even further, Jesus says, that's the beauty. Jeremiah was given that job. People curse you, put you in prison, but if you are my disciple, deny yourself and say to those people what Jesus said in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 5, bless those who curse you. Pray for those who persecute you. And that's what the words of Jesus. You have to bless people, those who persecute you, and pray for those people, those who curse you. And again, very beautifully, Archbishop Fulton Sheen says, to be a fool for Christ is the greatest compliment the world can give to me. You and I are in good company because most of the saints embrace the cross of Christ and were considered fools for doing so. So if you really do the word of God or follow it, people may call you fool, but deny yourself. Take up your cross. Do the right thing. Not the thing that is pleasing to people, but the things that pleasing God. Do that. That's what the call in the second reading. Offer your body as a worthy, pleasing sacrifice to God. It's not what pleases our body, but it is what pleases God with our body. Do that. It's very difficult in life. That's what Jesus says to his own disciples. Deny yourself, take up your cross and follow me. And as Peter was curious, Lord, I will not allow any suffering to you. How can you say that you are going to suffer and die? And what was the response of Jesus Christ? Get behind me, Satan. Jesus said, you are the rock, and upon this rock I will build my church. But now today he says, get behind me, Satan. You don't think as God does. You do as human being do. No. Many a time we are human being. We have our own weakness and failings. We do things like that. But what Jesus today calls us, no, think as God. Deny yourself. Deny your interest. Deny your selfishness. Take up the cross for me, for the word of God, and help other people. Give yourself as a pleasing and worthy sacrifice for other people. If you do so, then you build up my kingdom. Then you become my people, my disciple. So to become a disciple, deny yourself, take up your cross, and follow Jesus.